The story you're about to see is a big, fat lie. No names have been changed to protect anybody.
The greatest cartoon characters of all time. Classic television. Exciting football in the spring. This is the USCFL Network, celebrating 40 years of excellence.
Let's get ready to rumble!
And now, the USCFL Network, in association with YouTube, presents the USCFL Postgame Show. Here's once again is Robbie Graham.
Greetings, cartoon and football fans. This is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network as we bring to you the action and highlights of an exciting Week 15 of the USCFL's 2020 season. We now know who will play in Disney Bowl 3, and we will share it with you. One team trying to defend its title, and 3 other teams, all of which have had improbable seasons. Who won? Who lost? After a brief pause, we will talk about and present the highlights of an exciting Game 29 in Richmond, Virginia, between the defending champion Jim Henson All-Stars against the Cinderella Filmation All-Stars.
Moving right along in search of good times and good news. With good friends you can't lose.
This could become a habit.
Opportunity knocks once, let's reach out and grab it.
Yeah!
Together we'll nab it.
We'll hitchhike, bus, or yellow cabin.
Cabin?
Moving right along. Footloose and fancy free.
Getting there is half the fun, come share it with me.
Moving right along.
We'll learn to share the load.
We don't need a map to keep this show on the road.
Hey, the song is sounding better, Fuzzy. Moving right along, we found a life on the highway.
And your way is my way.
So trust my navigation.
California, here we come, up high in the skyland.
Welcome back. As the 2019 season began, the Jim Henson All-Stars and the Filmation All-Stars played in Game 8 of the first round. With the controversy surrounding She-Ra in full effect, Filmation were no match against Jim Henson. Jim Henson won that game 40-9 with only 1 touchdown scored between them. Jim Henson place kicker Rolf tied the record for the most field goals scored in a single game with 11, now shared with Filmation kicker and She-Ra's alter ego Adora. That victory sparked a 10-game winning streak, including the Disney Bowl championship. 15 months later, they met again, this time in Richmond. In 2020, She-Ra's controversial counterpart ended its series on May 15th. After a disastrous loss to the Modern Cartoon All-Stars in Game 3, when She-Ra was taken out of the game with an injury and not returning, Filmation surrendered a 22-point lead to lose 29-22. But when She-Ra took the field in Game 14 against the Warner Brothers All-Stars in Philadelphia, that game sparked an incredible comeback for the Princess of Power. Jim Henson came to Virginia looking for their 11th straight win and a chance to defend their title. But Filmation also was looking for the same goal, to knock off the defending champs for their shot of a title. Filmation got the scoring started with a 7-yard touchdown run by Spinnerella. Then Jim Henson tied the score as Kermit the Frog connected with the great Gonzo from 50 yards out to tie the game. The first quarter ended with a 50-yard field goal by Adora to take a 10-7 lead. In true Jim Henson fashion, they took over the second quarter with 20 unanswered points, with a pair of Rolf field goals and 2 touchdown passes by Kermit the Frog, a second score from Gonzo and Big Bird. Filmation finished the first half with 10 unanswered points of their own, with a She-Ra touchdown pass to fellow castmate Perfuma and an Adora field goal. Jim Henson led 27-20 at halftime. In the locker room, the Filmation All-Stars felt that their season would be over with. The Jim Henson All-Stars were just too unstoppable. It continued in the third quarter. After Filmation pulled within 4 points, Jim Henson responded back with a touchdown run by backup running back Abby Kadabi of Sesame Street, and a third field goal by Rolf. Jim Henson led 37-23 at the end of the third quarter. In true fighting spirit for which She-Ra is famous for, Filmation bounced back in the fourth quarter by shutting out Jim Henson. 2 touchdown passes from She-Ra to backup tight end Stratos of the He-Man series and rookie fullback Dale Arden from Flash Gordon tied the game with 6:05 left in regulation. Filmation cornerback Shadow Reaver of the She-Ra series intercepted what could have been the game-winning touchdown pass for Jim Henson. Adora kicked a 37-yard field goal with no time remaining. Filmation won 40-37. The Jim Henson's winning streak started with Filmation, and it ended with Filmation. For the second time this season, She-Ra won game MVP honors with an incredible performance. She won 28 of 32 for 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. She had a passer rating of 125.9 and completed 87% of her passes. These were NFL-type stats. Kermit the Frog finished 26 of 38 for 328 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He had a passer rating of 110.8, completing 68% of his passes. Miss Piggy rushed for 139 yards on 22 carries, while Spinnerella rushed for 144 yards on 31 carries and 1 touchdown. Gonzo had just 4 receptions, but for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns, while Glimmer finished with 8 receptions for 105 yards. Rolf missed a field goal in the third quarter, which also could have won the game for Jim Henson. The Filmation All-Stars will play for the USCFL title for the first time ever. However, for She-Ra and her castmates, they will play for the USCFL title for the 5th time. For He-Man and his castmates, it will be their 4th appearance, and for the others, it truly will be their first time. As for She-Ra, she beat the controversy that plagued her for 2 years, and no matter what happens in the Disney Bowl, She-Ra once again proved that she is the true Princess of Power. And here is how the highlights of this exciting game took place.
close at hand. Creatures crawl in search of blood to terrorize your neighborhood. And whosoever never shall be found without the soul for getting down. Must stand and face the hounds of hell and rot inside a corpse's shell.
I'm gonna do it tonight.
Stench is in the air, the funk of 40,000 years, and grisly ghouls from every tomb are closing in to seal your doom. And though you fight to stay alive, your body starts to shiver, for no mere mortal can resist the evil of the thriller.
Who will Filmation's opponent be in the Disney Bowl? After a brief pause, we'll tell you who they will face as we present the highlights of a nail-biting game from Houston between the DC Comics All-Stars and the Comic Strip All-Stars. Welcome back. Both the fans and players braved a scorching hot afternoon in Houston as the DC Comics All-Stars took on the Comic Strip All-Stars. The DC Comics All-Stars were also looking for their first ever shot at a title, while the Comic Strip All-Stars were looking for their second chance. But for Charlie Brown and the rest of the Peanuts gang, it would be their fifth chance as well. Just like what they did in Atlanta against Hanna-Barbera, the Comic Strip All-Stars went scoreless in the first quarter, as Wonder Woman got the scoring going with a 2-yard touchdown pass to Zatanna. A pair of Batgirl field goals, DC Comics led 13-0. Hanna-Barbera also led 13-0 after the first quarter last week. And from the second quarter onward, the Comic Strip All-Stars shut down their opponent with a barrage of field goals, only allowing one last score. After Charlie Brown threw a touchdown pass to backup tight end Moose Mason of Archie Comics, Blondie Bumstead kicked 3 field goals as the Comic Strip All-Stars took a 16-13 halftime lead. For the third time this season, the third quarter of a game went scoreless. DC Comics retook the lead as Wonder Woman ran the ball in from 2 yards out. Blondie kicked 4 more field goals as the Comic Strip All-Stars held on to win 28-20. For most of this game, both teams had a shot, but Blondie's foot propelled the Comic Strip All-Stars to go on to Disney World. The stats for this game weren't impressive. Neither Charlie Brown or Wonder Woman were lining it up. Charlie Brown was 20 of 40 for 201 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Wonder Woman was 22 of 49 for 195 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions, along with a rushing touchdown. DC Comics running back Robin got injured in the first half and didn't return. His backup, Hawkman, had 94 yards rushing on 24 carries. For once, Archie Andrews rushed for more yards than his quarterback. He rushed for 195 yards on 36 carries, for which he earned game MVP honors. Dennis the Menace was a menace to the DC Comics defense with 8 receptions for 111 yards. Zatanna also had 8 receptions for 93 yards and 1 touchdown. Blondie Bumstead had 7 field goals in this game and 16 overall in the last 2 games. As bad as the stats are, it's who scores the most that counts. The comic strip All-Stars will be the visiting team in the Disney Bowl, while Filmation will be the home team. And here is how the scoring in this game took place. After a brief pause, we will present one last review of the season so far, along with some programming notes for future presentations. Welcome back. For the last time, we will review the season so far and how both teams got to this point. Afterwards, we have some announcements about future presentations now that the season is almost over with. And here is the final recap of the USCFL's monumental 2020 season. Here is an interesting fact. Of the 30 games played, the team scored a combined 1,997 points, averaging nearly 67 points per game. Both Hanna-Barbera and DC Comics scored the most with 51, while the Sci-Fi All-Stars scored the least with just 6 points. It was the only time all season that a team, win or loss, did not score a touchdown. Now for our programming announcements. Just like the NFL does between the conference championships and the Super Bowl, there will be no post-game show next Sunday. On Friday, July 24th, we will present our exclusive runner-up game. If you've ever wondered what would happen if the losing teams were to have played for the title had fared, here is your chance. The DC Comics All-Stars will take on the Jim Henson All-Stars from Denver. On Saturday, July 25th, the moment you've been waiting for, the Comic Strip All-Stars will take on the Filmation All-Stars in Disney Bowl 3 for the USCFL Championship. The Season 5 She-Ra Showdown is still going on, so be sure to tune in for that. After the season ends, we will present on August 15th a special wrap-up show called 2020, a season to remember and a year to forget. We will review all the events of both the USCFL season and all that's happened so far this year. And now for a major announcement. As it was pointed out a couple of weeks ago, a YouTube channel called Death Battle paired Wonder Woman and She-Ra in a death match. On Saturday, August 8th, the USCFL will do its own version of this death match in a special exhibition game. Wonder Woman and She-Ra, along with their respective teammates, will square off. It will be their 8th meeting, with Wonder Woman winning all 7 times. We will present the game in a live premiere on YouTube on Sunday, August 9th at 4 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Disney Bowl 3 will also do a live premiere on Sunday, July 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Also look to our sub-channel, USCFL TV, for new music videos featuring selected characters. Until 2 weeks from today, this is Robbie Graham of the USCFL Network wishing you peace. Take care and stay safe.